And welcome, folks, to another edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider. And we are coming off of a couple of losses for the Maize Blue since we last had a show. And I don't think we've had, as a matter of fact, I know we haven't had a show like this where we're talking about Michigan having back-to-back losses on the season. And so foreign territory for us because it's foreign territory for this basketball team. And so, Tim, I'm coming to you. Looking for you, big fella, to give us some answers. A gentleman who came to University of Michigan as an All-American out of Clarkston High School. He was one of the best in the country. He was one of the best in the country at the University of Michigan, became a first-round draft pick, played for 10 years in the National Basketball Association, and now is one of the best commentators in all the land, both as a Pistons commentator over on the FanDuel Network, and of course, as a college basketball commentator. And you hear him doing his thing, breaking down the Michigan Wolverines here on the Michigan Basketball Insider. He is my friend first, but of course, he is a Michigan Wolverine and a Michigan Wolverine always. So all of you breaking down the Maize Blue, Tim McCormick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I have to say, though, that the conclusion of the Big Ten season has gone a lot different than I expected. Michigan was hot and in just a wonderful spot to win a piece of the Big Ten championship. They were excellent finishing close games. We were all impressed with that. And they were improving in what I thought were some key areas. And then to lose 2 home games as decided favorites was super disappointing. And I think it all caused major concerns going into the Big Ten tournament that have to be addressed. I attended the Illinois game, and I watched the Maryland game before my Pistons broadcast last night. And I just walked away with 3 what I call key issues that have to be addressed. The first one is this team is really sloppy with the ball. It was a problem right from the start. We talked about it in October and November. And to have 16 turnovers in a close game, Maryland scored 21 points off those turnovers. That is a huge issue, and it hasn't improved, and I'm not super confident that it will. You also could say that Michigan is unreliable from 3-point. It's so critical in college basketball today. And when is the last time Michigan made 10 threes? I need to look that up, but I always feel like if you make 10 threes, you're going to win the game. And it's been a while. And then Roddy Gale and Reuben Jones and LJ Kaysen and those guys, they've either lost their confidence or they've got a long way to go. A lot of times Michigan is playing 4-on-5, and they need to get some production out of that 5th starter. Maryland and Illinois were sagging so much on Wolf and Goldin, and the offense has gotten really predictable. They're running actions to get shots for guys that don't really look like they want to shoot. So, and I will say this, Sam, like all of the opportunities still exist for this team. The Big Ten tournament, why can't they be Big Ten tournament champs? Like, I don't look at any team out there and say, well, if we play them, that's a problem. Michigan can still get to the Sweet 16. Once again, they've got to really tighten some things down and get some key players playing better, but I'm not pessimistic about their future.
Yeah, so the Illinois game bothered me.
Yeah,
in the way that more so than the Maryland game. And not to say that either game was, okay, you're never fine with a loss. But, I have this saying, I can take getting beat. I can't take getting punked. And that was kind of my take with the Purdue game. And that was my take with you might remember the matchup with Vlad and Trey Kaufman-Renn. Like, I concede that Trey Kaufman-Renn is an excellent player. I concede that Trey Kaufman-Renn is a tough matchup for everyone in the Big Ten in the post, and in a strength matchup that he's going to be able to back everyone down. So I'm not calling Vlad out saying that he's a lesser player if Trey Kaufman-Renn is having his way with him in the post, but it cannot be such an overwhelming advantage of a matchup for them. It cannot be where they're winning the matchup, 12-2 or whatever it was at halftime, and they're overwhelming you coming out of the half to the point where Dusty's calling the timeout. He's like, "Hey, wake up," right? And that was what was going on early or throughout the Illinois game on the offensive glass. Like, they cannot dominate the offensive glass to that degree. 19 offensive rebounds, Tim. Like, knowing that they're going to win that matchup anyway, not conceding it, but they're going to win that stat. They can win it. They can't dominate it. And it got to the point in that game where they're shooting threes indiscriminately, not because they're confident they're going to make them. They're shooting threes indiscriminately because they're confident that even when they're missing them, they're going to get the rebound. And that just cannot happen. And so that, to me, that's something where you gotta challenge them again. You gotta respond. And Will Cheddar's credit after the game, he said, basically was saying the same thing. He's like, "This is embarrassing. Like, that can't happen. We can't have this kind of thing happen to us if we're going to reach our goals." And so there's that kind of challenge, that you cannot have that kind of effort and get to where you got to go. And so hopefully that kind of deal won't happen anywhere the rest of the way. And then you get to your point with valuing the basketball, Tim. I've given up on them having low turnovers. That's not going to happen. But can you get to the point where you don't have the careless turnovers, the driving to the rim and you throw it in the backcourt? You cannot have those, Tim. Those are the ones that I just hope that as we get in this stretch run now, where it's going to be the one game season the rest of the way after the next game, that they can get rid of those.
Yeah, if you score, if you give up 93 points, there's really no need to look at the other numbers. Illinois scored 62 in the second half. It was just a shocking collapse. I thought that in such a huge game, to have such poor energy from most of the players was really a poor precedent to set. I had really good seats to watch the second half and Illinois offensive rebound. That was just incredible. Illinois missed 39 shots, and they basically grabbed half of them. Their game plan, I was really surprised at how poorly they shoot. And before the game, when I sat there watching them warm up, I was shocked at how many open shots they were all missing. So it's a poor shooting team, but they've got big athletic wings that can go and get the ball. And what happens, Sam, is if you're grabbing so many offensive rebounds, it just builds your confidence, because there's not that pressure. Like, we've got to be able to we've got to get this because this team is giving us one chance. And then the same thing, I was just shocked at the carelessness of the Maryland game. Michigan had 22 points at half. They were down 11. And then they came out and they weren't ready to go, and they turned the ball over again. And in the last 6 minutes, and I think you referenced it earlier when you said throw it in the backcourt, like, the crowd was into the game. They were so ready to explode. Down 2 points, and Tre Donaldson throws the ball across his body with his left hand. It goes all the way down the court. Then he has another turnover. Then Wolf misses 2 free throws, and then Wolf has a bad turnover. And you just can't make comebacks against teams. They're going to make shots at some point. It was really discouraging to see that. And I'm not sure what to think of Tre Donaldson. You know, I love his swagger and his energy, but it seems like there's a lot of little mid-range shots that are available that I'd love to see him be able to try to get to the rim and finish a little bit, be more aggressive hunting his shots because they need a reliable third scorer. And right now, I'm just not sure who that's going to be.
Yeah, I think there's a level. I have faith. I have absolute faith in him being the guy that we've seen him be in really meaningful stretches, like big games. At UCLA, here against Purdue, like meaningful stretches. But that's the key word is stretches. Like the only consistent guy that's done it all the way through is Vlad. They obviously need They need Danny and Tre to do that too. But to expect, where I expect Danny to be able to do it is scoring and rebounding. To expect Danny to be able to consistently do it in a playmaking fashion, I think might be a bridge too far. I mean, not to excuse his turnovers, but I think it's going to be. You made this point, Tim. I think it's going to be a lot to really expect him to be a dynamic playmaker with the floor so compressed. You made this point. They aren't making shots. It's going to be the floor is going to be really, really restricted right now. And I think that's going to put more pressure on Tre to be more of a classic playmaker for this team. That's what I think they need from him. I think they need him to value the basketball more because I think he's a guy that can be that guy more consistently if he can find. I'm trying not to single him out too much and at the same time call him out in the way that you need to for this team to be what they need to be. Because I know there's a middle ground here that they need to accomplish because it is what it is. He's one of the best players. He's the point guard, and they got to have him be the guy if they're gonna win a Big Ten championship. Tim, there's just no other way around it because I don't think you can expect Danny Wolf at this point to be the playmaker that he was early in the season. You saw him have 3-4 turnovers in a row. I think that's kind of the way teams are playing him right now. He has a lot, and plus he's not a foul shooter too. That's another thing that you got to worry about. Whereas with Tre, I don't think that would be as big a concern.
The offense is so predictable. They run actions to get a good shot for Wolf and Goldin, and the defense is so loaded up to make them shoot on the perimeter, shoot difficult contested twos. And you could go back to the Wisconsin game. I think that was the first time we really saw the two big man pick and roll. And Wisconsin's defense was pretty spread out and looked beautiful. That's not the way anybody's playing Michigan right now. And here's what they're thinking. Focus on the big guys. Michigan's guards are pretty mediocre. They're not going to beat you. So play compact, contest shots, contain the ball. Gale struggles to finish oversized, so we don't have to really worry about him. He's a non-threat from three, and he's regressed. Burnett and Donaldson are okay. They've had shining moments, but until they start beating you, just keep them on the perimeter, know where they're at. This year, there were times I was frustrated with Michigan football, and the reality is, if Alex Orji is your quarterback, the other team is going to put 8 men in the box, right? Mm-hmm. And you can say, look, we can pass the ball, but if you don't have a passer in there, you're really limited, and everybody knows what you're going to do. That's the way Michigan's offense is right now. They're playing against a stacked box, and the other teams are saying, go ahead, I don't think you can beat us. I mean, your threes are going left and right. That's a problem. If they're straight and you're making some shots, we'll adjust. But until Michigan makes threes, I think that they're playing against a stacked defense.
Yeah. I wonder if you see, I think Roddy's getting 17, 18. I think he got 20 minutes versus Illinois. I think he got fewer minutes versus Maryland. I think you're going to see the part of the adjustment be you just got to play. You got to play the young kids more. He's going to Will. He's trying to give some of those minutes to Will, but obviously Will is limited in what he can really offer in terms of playmaking ability. I think if you're going to see maybe a shooting spark, kind of accentuate from the bench, maybe it's LJ. I mean, you see him shooting them in warmups. It's not necessarily translating to games, but if you aren't going to get Sam Walters back, maybe it's LJ Kason. I know it's a lot to maybe expect it from a freshman, but right now Roddy Gale is his confidence seems so shaken that I don't think it's outlandish. It seems more of a stretch to hope for Roddy Gale to start making threes than it is to suggest that maybe LJ Kason might make a few if he takes a few more in games. Tim, was talking to, we were doing the round table, and I know Craig Ross was saying, I was watching him in warmups. He said, I watched LJ make 13 straight threes in warmups. Now I know it's just warmups, but I'll take it at this point because it just looks like right now you have a guy who's not a confident basketball player, at least shooting the basketball, in Roddy Gale.
If Craig Ross says it, I believe it. Michigan's bench has a bunch of low usage players right now. They're fine. They'll eat up some minutes, but I'd love to see Pippen get more opportunity. I'd love to see Casing get more of an opportunity. Reuben Jones, even, at least I love his defense. Maryland's bench has been so criticized. They might be one of the worst in the country. They had gone 114 straight minutes without scoring a point. In the bench battle against the inept Maryland bench, Michigan outscored them 5-4. Like that's not good, Sam. And when I look at the reality, though, I know it probably comes off as we're being very negative, but I do think Michigan has a good team. They're 22-8, and with all the new players, that's impressive. They're 14-5. They're probably a 2 or 3 seed. They're going to get a double bye, depending on the finish. I do believe this team can get to a Big Ten championship game. I believe they can get to the Sweet 16. I've seen it. I know that they have some really good players, and I just wish I had a recipe for a coach and a coaching staff to give an infusion of confidence, and it doesn't happen a lot of times. But I'm not down on this team. I'm not worried about them, just completely collapsing and losing early in the Big Ten tournament, getting blown out by Michigan State, by not getting to a Sweet Six. I think they can do all of those things, but it just gets a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I really think Tre is I think he is a guy who can be a top shelf point guard in this league. Mm-hmm. I think there's been an investment in, and I'm not saying this is a criticism, but I think there's been an investment in this team in having it be, a sort of playmaking by committee. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that being Danny, and a byproduct of that was that you didn't really invest in Tre, building that up over the course of a season to the point where now, this is his team, to the point where, he's really taking it over and he's really settled into, I got it. I'm taking over when I need to take over. I do it at a very efficient level. Like, he does not take over to the degree that you want him to take over and do it at a clip where he's not turning over the basketball. He's taking the right shot at the right moment. He doesn't do that at the level that you need him to for this team to win the Maryland game, win the Illinois game. But I think he has it in him. I think he can be that guy. Call me. Maybe I'm seeing sunshine and rainbows. But I think he is. I think he has the moxie. I think he has the physical characteristics. He can play through contact. I think he's quick enough. I think his shot, while it's been a little errant, he was 2 for 3 from 3 last night. Not finishing quite as well around the rim, but I think that's still there. I think it's just a matter of, again, it's not something that he does all the time. And I think repetition, even in something like that, even in something like, hey, taking command, being the guy, I think that takes repetition too. And it's not something he's had a lot of reps in yet, but he needs to start getting reps in it now, especially as they head up to East Lansing.
We haven't talked about this topic, but I know exactly what's on your mind regarding the point guard position, because you love good point guard play. And there were times earlier this season where I watched Tre Donaldson play, and I thought, okay, I have a vision of the progression of his game. You just used the term take command. That's what I expected, that he was going to continue to grow, taking ownership of this team. Like who? Muhammad Ali Abdul-Rahman, Derek Walton, Xavier Simpson, Eli Brooks. Like those guys, they kept getting to the point where when Michigan needed a bucket, they started to step up and make those plays. I'm not even talking Trey Burke or Jalen Rose. Like I'm talking about just somebody, a really good college point guard that said, okay, I've got the ball, get out of my way. We need a bucket. I'm going to deliver it right now. And Trey has stayed in that realm of, I'm a good point guard. I'm going to make some wow plays where the fans say this guy is great, but I want more. I want more, Sam. I want him to be that perimeter threat. We've got maybe the best 4 or 5 combination this side of Auburn, but to win college basketball games, point guard, combo guard, those are the most important playmaking positions in the game.
I agree wholeheartedly. He can shoot. Again, he's crafty with the dribble. So the guys that he can't out quick, again, he has a hesitation dribble. He can get you on his hip. He can ride you to the rim. He can play through contact. He has the tools. Just has to put it all together. And again, value the basketball. I think the thing that Dusty probably gets frustrated with is it's the turnovers like the one we saw late in the game when they're down 2. Those are the ones that's like, come on, man.
And also, Sam, at what point do you throw a left-handed pass over your shoulder with that kind of velocity? And I go back to one of the first John Beilein practices that I ever watched. Bo Ryan was this way too. Tom Izzo's this way. He wants those passes with 2 hands, snap back, hands pointed at your target, step to your target, hit them in the chest. That's old school fundamental basketballs. And if Michigan makes those plays at that point, remember the crowd was hyped, man. They were ready to blow the roof off the building. If they get buckets there instead of careless turnovers that go the other way, Michigan wins that game. And we're just talking about a different scenario. Like, how come they're not blowing people out? Like, we're frustrated about that instead of, that was such a winnable game.
Yeah, so, they go up to East Lansing. They need some help. The Big Ten regular season championship is not off the table. They need some help. They need Iowa to beat Michigan State. If Michigan State wins that game, they're the outright Big Ten regular season champs.
Wait, were you talking about rainbows and roses or early? like, are you really thinking that Iowa's going to knock off Michigan State with a Big Ten championship? Okay.
I hear you. But look, you have to mention the possibilities.
Yeah.
Even if the sunshine and rainbows, even if that doesn't come to fruition, from Michigan's standpoint, you need to go up there and play a good basketball game. You need to get back on the track where heading into the Big Ten tournament, you're playing like that team you were earlier in the season and have that kind of momentum as you head into postseason play. I think that's very important. And as much as this is not an individual matchup, whether it's Tre or Danny, who outside of the 5 turnovers and the missing the free throws, which I guess that's a big part of the game, but he offensively, it was one of his most coherent games. You know, he didn't settle for he shot threes, but he didn't settle. Right. So I felt like he turned down too many 3-pointers recently, but he took threes. And then there was one where he sort of jab step. I think it was Derek Queen on him. He jab step, and then he drove him and finished at the rim. It's like, okay. Because at first I was like, come on, man. He's giving it to you. But then he drove him and he finished. It's like I'm liking what I'm seeing from Danny in this game offensively. Very, very coherent offensive game this day. But again, that's been kind of an anomaly of late. Can you put together back-to-back really good offensive performances against a team that's really going to be coming at you in Michigan State, Danny? And then for Tre Donaldson, Tim, he got really thoroughly outplayed in the last game. Jace Richardson was the best player on the court. And if they're that thoroughly outplayed in the backcourt in this game, Michigan doesn't have a chance. So I'm not breaking it down to a one-on-one matchup. Tre can't make it that. He can't be thinking that way heading into this game. But he can't be that thoroughly outplayed and think that Michigan's going to have a chance to win this contest.
Yeah, I don't think that any of the Michigan players, other than Damari Burnett, understand how hostile that crowd is and how hard it is going to be to win. I think, though, that Michigan has a better chance to win in East Lansing than Iowa does at home against Michigan State. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it a lot. And also, Sam, I wanted to apologize. I'm a horrible podcaster because it seems like every week when I think of who's the MVP of this team, I switch my answer from Vlad to Danny, back to Vlad to Danny. I have no idea. They're both so good. 2 of the best big guys that Michigan has ever had.
Yeah, Vlad has been a model. 20 points and 15 rebounds?
Yeah,
against Maryland last night. I mean, the guy has just been super, super steady. And Dusty talked about what they've done to make it harder for teams to double him. A lot of mid-post action that they do with him. And it's been giving Vlad kind of a two-way go. He can hit you with that little mid-range sort of hook he's been giving him, but he can also turn and drive you too. And so I've been really impressed with seeing some of the little bit of versatility from Vlad in the mid post.
And they're exemplary big men. They play hard. They've been durable. Their defense is totally respected, and they have gotten better from day one. It seems like every time I see those guys, I see something new that they've added. Very coachable, good leaders, taking accountability. Man, I'm excited to see where they go with their career too, because they're immensely talented. Danny Wolf does some things that I'm just thinking, where in the world did that come from? I don't see that in the NBA. And the cool thing about it is that usually young players will learn something from watching an NBA player do it. I get the sense that he's freelancing and just experimenting as he goes on. So, man, kudos to both of those big guys.
So as we wrap things up and kind of give me your keys. You gave me your keys last time, and I think I sort of got one. You said, when was the last time Michigan made 10 threes in the game? Do they have to make 10 threes in this game up in East Lansing to win?
Yeah, and I don't think it's that difficult. They've had plenty of solid half shootings, but they haven't put a whole game together. And Michigan State is going to do the same thing that Maryland did. We're going to load up the box. We're going to, Alex Orji's the quarterback, and we're going to make him throw. Just like that, Michigan does not shoot the ball well from three. We know that now. But they have some guys that just need to step up, focus on the fundamentals. Darn it, like Namari Burnett had a big three last night, and he left too early. Stick with your shot. Land in your footprints. Hold your follow through, just like a free throw. And if they do that, I think they're capable. Also, I've watched Roddy Gale play a lot in his career. He's capable of so much more. And a college career is so fleeting. There's got to be an urgency there. Like, I'm going to be an ex-player for 40 or 50 years. And I want to do something where I can come back to Chrysler Arena someday and they're going to celebrate my team, as the Big Ten tournament champs, or, the Elite Eight team, or whatever it might be. They've all got to come together, because when you're done playing, that's really all you have are the memories of cutting down a net and doing something special. And I know he's capable of it, and I don't want him to walk away from the season with unfulfilled expectations.
Yeah. Look, Tre put up 5 shots in the last game and scored 3 points. Look, he got to have some more aggression.
Yep.
He has got to be an offensive catalyst for this team. There are just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, not to make this a one-on-one game. It's not about him attacking Jace Richardson. I don't want to make this come off like that. But he has got to be a major offensive factor for them. They cannot have more turnovers than assists in this game like they did in the last contest. I think I gave you guys the stat last time. No team that has turned it over 12 or more times has beaten Michigan State. You turn it over 12 times in this game, you're going to lose. They got to keep it up. They got to keep the turnovers under 12 in this game. Period. End of the discussion.
Yeah. I like it.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then, of course, listen, I'm not conceding the rebounding battle. I'm just saying you cannot get destroyed on the glass like you did against Illinois. You get 19 offensive rebounds. Michigan State got 14 offensive rebounds. Can you keep that keep that number reasonable? Don't get destroyed on the glass. Keep the turnovers down. Don't get destroyed on the glass. And Tre has got to be an offensive factor in this game, much, much, much more than he was in the last game. And Michigan will have a chance to come out on top.
Michigan has better big guys by a lot. Michigan State has more explosive guards, and I'm talking about a significant difference. Somehow Michigan has to keep the perimeter game close. They'll win the post game, and they'll have a chance.
Yeah, and let me not say chance. Listen, let me not talk like these dudes on the other side are world beaters. I'm not convinced that Michigan State is like that, like they're a national champion team. And I'm not convinced that Michigan is this team that is leaps and bounds away from them. Michigan has gone into a slump shooting the basketball, and then they have a couple of their guys have really gotten into a funk. But it wasn't that long ago where Michigan was taking down teams left and right. So they aren't that far removed from the shoe being on the other foot. So let's not get it twisted. If Tre plays the way that he's capable of playing, they keep the turnovers 12 or under, which I'm not saying that's a small task, but if they do those things, they'll win this game. So let me not talk in waiver and talk about they'll have a chance. No, they do those things, they'll win.
But shooting is such a mental game. It's crazy. I've got a quick story to end this. I was playing for the Atlanta Hawks, and we were getting ready to go to Chicago to play the Bulls. And my coach told me, he said, you're starting tomorrow. And I'm thinking, wow, this is very cool. Moses Malone, I think, sprained his toe, and he was and so I had been struggling a little bit with my free throw shooting. So the night before the game, I went to the health club, and I found a kid and gave him $20 and said, I just want you to rebound for me. And so I started shooting free throws, and my shot felt great. and I made 135 in a row. And I was just feeling so good about myself. The game started the next day. I drove to the basket. Bill Cartwright fouled me, and I was going to the free throw line. This is like 2 minutes in. I stepped to the free throw line and just totally clanked it off the back of the rim. I had made 135 the day before. And just when you step on the court, all of these negative memories in your mind come out, and it's hard. I know how hard it is. But for Roddy Gale and Amari Burnett, like, I really encourage them to do something to get to the line, get in transition, grab an offense, find a way to feel good about yourself, and those shots will start going in.
Great stuff, Tim. Great stuff as always. Appreciate you, folks. Michigan Basketball Insider. The next time we come to you, we'll be talking about the Big Ten tournament. And hopefully, we'll be recapping what was an outstanding performance against Michigan State. Either way, we'll be breaking it all down for you here on the next edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider.